You have to be okay with that idea that you might fail or it might not work out, but you're going to do whatever it takes to make it work.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Coachable podcast. You are in for a treat because today I am joined by Nathan, who went from a soul-crushing 9-to-5 job in IT to being the founder of one of the fastest growing online entrepreneurial brands in the world, Foundr. He was frustrated with the lack of real advice from those that are wanting to grow and scale a business. And so Nathan launched Foundr in 2013 to interview some of the world's biggest and greatest entrepreneurs. Flash forward, and Foundr is now featuring people like Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, Ariana Huffington, and has amassed a global community of over 4 million people and grown to a multi-million-dollar digital media network. So Nathan Chan, you're the man. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Tori. It's an absolute pleasure and it's a real honor. I've been seeing your TikTok videos lately.
Well, I'm glad they're finding somebody because it seems like they haven't been getting out to as many people as they used to. So I'm glad they're finding you. But you guys, this is like round 2. This is 2.0 on this episode because Nathan and I tried to have this discussion a couple weeks ago, and we had a complete malfunction of equipment. Then I got kidney stones, and we've been jumping through some hoops to make sure that we are getting this episode and it's clean and good for you guys. And I'm just excited to finally have some structured time where we can sit down and chat and get to know each other a little bit more. I know you're all the way over in Australia. How are things there? And tell us just the backstory of how you started Foundr.
Yeah, so look, things in Australia are good. We're out of lockdown. The only problem now is it's really cold. We're in winter, so it's like super cold. So I'm very jealous of you guys in the United States.
Las Vegas, it's 112 yesterday. I think it's insane, the heat. So we'll send you some over there.
Awesome. So I started Foundr around 8-9 years ago, and to be honest, Tori, I've never achieved or accomplished much before starting Foundr. I was never a very ambitious person, and honestly, I never got great grades in school. I kind of scraped through university, and I ended up getting a job in IT support. I realized that this wasn't for me, and my parents, I remember even they used to joke that if things don't work out for Nathan amongst family friends, that they would get a lawn mowing franchise for me. So that kind of paints a bit of a picture of my life before Foundr. And long story short, I started this digital magazine on the side. Now, I started on the side while I was working my day job, and I started it because 8-9 years ago, I started to hear stories of friends starting online businesses and doing incredible things. And I was really curious how people were doing this, because I think entrepreneurship was an up and coming thing, but nowhere near what it's like now. And I just really wanted to know, if you have no experience in building a business, how could you start a successful online business? And it took me down this path of starting to interview people for the magazine. I didn't know where it would end up, but what I did realize pretty quickly was that all of these stories, I had to share them. And I was kind of like an investigative journalist. And so I started to publish the magazine, and then the rest is kind of history. And then as time has gone on, we've always been an online education company, but as time has gone on, we're really focused now on online courses, building one of the largest online business schools in the world. And I just kind of fell into it, but I didn't realize I'd be doing what I'm doing today, but I saw a gap in the market. And ever since, we've just been kind of sharing stories and experiences from super successful founders. So that's kind of us.
Yeah, that's so fun. And I know there's so many people in our audience that they look at me, they look at other people online who have established personal brands or online businesses in whatever industry. And they're like, I think we sometimes have this perception that people just come out of the womb as an entrepreneur and with a business idea, knowing how to run a business. We just put people on pedestals and think they've always been doing it and have always known how to do it. And it's so far from the truth. I know there are plenty of people that listen to this show that either have side hustles right now, or they've contemplated starting their own business, or they're in a job that you feel like is sucking their soul. And there's so many reasons why people don't get started. They don't take action. They stay in this state of dreaming and thinking about wanting to do it or comparing what their lives could look like to what they see online. But a lot of people don't have either the formal education or they don't have what they think is the information or the knowledge. And so what you're providing for people is so invaluable. I'm curious, it seems like you were building this online business as you were also figuring out and learning from other people, how do you start an online business? What do you think is the biggest thing that holds people back from actually taking the step and getting started with any endeavor, any side hustle, any project that they're passionate about? Because it takes taking the first step to actually get started and start to grow the momentum. Because like you said, I mean, Foundr started as a digital magazine and now it's grown and expanded to being a whole education company. And I imagine, to the point that you just made, you didn't know you were going to be doing this, but you had to take the first step and just do the first edition of the first magazine. Why do you think people, are hesitant to get started?
Two reasons. One, I think fear of failure is a massive one. It stems from this idea that how will you be perceived by others around you if it doesn't work? Instagram world, you're always looking at everybody else's highlight reel. It's easy to see what others are doing and comparing yourself to others. So I think fear of failure is a massive one. And I'm here to tell you that you just got to go for it, right? Like, life is too short to not do work you don't enjoy. So if you're not doing the work you enjoy, like, we'd love to come on the journey with you and please, like, look at our content, like look at our success stories, look at our students. Like, it does take hard work. I'm not here to say it's easy, right? Building a business is really, really hard. But it's one of the most rewarding things that you will ever do in your life. And it's really fun to create, but don't get me wrong, it is really, really hard. So I think fear of failure is a massive one, and the second one is this idea that this thought that you don't have a good enough idea yet, or everybody else is already doing these things, I don't know what to do. Once again, it's actually okay to create a business, one, that it's similar to somebody else's idea, and two, that doesn't work out, because what's the worst that can happen, right? Like, you'll learn a ton.
Sure.
You might lose a bit of money, but you'll imagine the experiences that you will have gained. And I guarantee when you go again the second time, or even the third time, you'll finally get there. And I think it's about wanting it bad enough. You know what I mean, Tori? Like, for you to make your shift, like, you had to really want it bad enough. It's not easy. Everyone knows that. I know a lot of people sell you that it's easy. We're not going to tell you it's easy. But yeah, I think you have to want it bad enough too. And you have to be okay with that idea that you might fail or it might not work out. But you're going to do whatever it takes to make it work.
Yeah. What I'm hearing you say is you have to have that, like, growth mindset of, like, seeing failure as opportunity to learn and to, to get better and to perfect your craft and try something new. That it doesn't mean that you're not qualified or cut out for it, but it's like, okay, every rejection is redirection, right? And also that, you have to have the drive and the desire that outweighs the desire for comfort or stability or something that might be like you might be getting from your current role or your current job. It's like, this is comfortable and this is familiar and this is safe, but it also is completely unfulfilling, and I dread going to work every day. Some people, they would rather stay in that safe space than take a risk on themselves. But I think a lot of it too, at least this is what comes up in our community a lot, is this self-doubt of, like, am I really cut out for this? Can I really do it? Is anyone going to care? Right? That fear of judgment, but it's really that judgment of themselves. And frankly, it's an excuse, but the story that we tell ourselves, it's like, oh, no one knows who I am, or no one knows I exist. I actually got a message from a girl the other day who was saying, I would love to start a podcast. That was one of her goals. And I was like, what's stopping you? And she said, no one knows I exist. And I was like, well, frankly, that's not true. First of all, there are people that know you exist. And so we have to be honest with ourselves. And sometimes we're just painting a story or an image that's false. But I would love for you to kind of break the stereotype that maybe everybody already has this huge following and that's why they can do it. It's like, did you have a ton of people that were lining up ready to listen to what you had to say and read your online magazine? Or was it something that you had to build over time? Because I think people think, oh, if I don't have a huge following, it's going to fail. And what's the point?
Yeah, so look, I want to be very, very clear, Tori, and break any kind of limiting belief there. When I started Foundr, I was working in a job where I was getting paid around $55,000 a year. To fund it, it cost me $2,000 off the back of my credit card. And I remember the first day that we launched, we made $5.50. In the first month, we made $80. In the second month, we made $150. I remember, if you go back, you can still go to foundr.com/magazine. You can see the first edition of the magazine. It didn't even have a successful person on the front cover. It had a stock image. It's so embarrassing because I didn't know what I was doing, right?
Sure.
Like, no one would get back to me, had no audience, had no idea what I was doing. And then over time, it worked out. And I never forget, right? Like, I called in so many favors. Like, there was a person I used to work with, her name's Lucy Piper, and when I got an interview with Richard Branson in the early days, and that was just from sheer hustle and determination. I never forget this. I remember seeing Lucy on the lift, because the building we were in, there was 2 floors, and I caught her on the lift going up, and she actually wrote the article for the Richard Branson interview and helped me with the questions. And I remember she said, "How's Foundr going?" And I was probably about 12 months in. And I said, "Yeah, look, it's going okay, but I just still haven't got that traction." 1 year in. I was like, I still haven't got that traction. And she's like, "Yeah, Nathan, it'll come. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep hustling. Just keep putting out content and it'll come." And I remember itching, feeling like, yeah, it's just still so early days. And I was itching. And to be honest, some of those days, Tori, still were some of the funnest times. And yeah, it just takes time to build, right? You just have to be patient. And I know it's easy to compare yourself to others. I know it's easy to look at what others are doing and what's happening for others, but every single person has gone through this process, and you only see the end result. Like you're watching or listening to this, and you're looking at Foundr or yourself, Tori, and it's like, oh wow, that's impressive. But it has been a long journey and a long road to get here. But the consistent thing is I've just shown up every day. Yeah. I've been disciplined. And I love this stuff, right? Like, this is what I was born to do.
Yeah, I think what you just said is the consistent showing up, the consistent creating, the consistent putting out the content. It's the consistency which compounds on itself, which then results in an outcome that you would have never been able to achieve if you hadn't shown up every single day. It's like just inching your way towards progress every day, moving the needle, moving the ball. I talk about that so much with my students, and that takes dedication. It takes a level of commitment to saying, this is what I'm going to do regardless of what other people think, what challenges I face. I'm committed to people that I look up to and I admire, whether it's like the Richard Bransons or the Mark Cubans or like the people that you've interviewed, right? And when I look at all of them I've interviewed as well, and I just think, wow, they're so amazing. I'd love to be like that one day. I'd love to be like Oprah one day, and I think about everyone that we look up to. Those are the doers. They're not just thinkers, right? They're not just dreamers. They're doers. They get up and they go and they put in the work, they put in the reps. And we see people get congratulated or recognized on big stages, or, Nathan has a multi-million-dollar digital media network. But what we don't see is all of the work that happens behind the scenes to make that possible. All of the time, all of the late nights and early mornings when you were full-time at your other job. How long were you doing Foundr and building that on the side before you went full-time and left your corporate job?
Yeah, so it was about 14 months. And I remember, you talk about on the side, like I remember I used to get up early in the morning before work and I would do interviews. Like I'd find a meeting room at the office at the company I worked at. I'd find a meeting room, take all my podcast gear, and I'd do interviews before I started work. Sometimes I'd do interviews on my lunch break, and then I'd go home, do more work, and then I'd see my partner, now fiance. So it took about 14 months.
Wow.
And I think the key thing there as well, to feel comfortable, because I know it's scary. I remember I was super scared to go all out on my own. So what I did was I had a buffer. It was somewhere between 3 to 6 months. I saved up 3 to 6 months of my expenses, like, my rent, living expenses, food, bills, all that kind of stuff. I had 3 to 6 months in savings as a buffer if something went wrong, because I'm actually a fairly risk-averse person.
Yeah.
And so, it took about 14 months to build it up, and then, went full-time. So about a year.
Yes. Somebody gave me that advice. It was actually a client of mine when I was in corporate, who's the head of one of the biggest law firms here. And he was also a very, very close friend. And when I was contemplating leaving my corporate job to start my business, he was like, if I was talking to my boy or my son right now, I'd tell him you need 3 to 6 months. So I got that advice too. I didn't take it. I advise most people to do it. I am a little bit more open to taking risks, I guess, because I just jumped ship and built the parachute on the way down. And everybody has their own journey, right? For me, it was about, I felt an urgency to get started and to give my full attention and commitment to something, because for me, at that point, I felt like I was straddling a fence and that my energy was split into two things and I wasn't really making progress in any one direction. But that's not to say that that's the same for everybody. So I think it's important to hear different perspectives, and mine certainly more of the minority in terms of how people make that transition. So I think it's really good to hear that, and that it's going to have these not necessarily realistic expectations, but give yourself time to actually show up. And if a year from now you're still as dedicated and excited and inspired to do the thing as you were the year before, okay, great. But a lot of us, we are so multi-passionate. We get started with something and then we see something else that we want to do. And we're like, oh, now I'm going to go try that instead. And then we don't stick to any one thing long enough to see it succeed.
Yeah. So I think that's a common one as well. Not having that focus and not having that kind of, ability to kind of see it through, because by all accounts, I should have stopped doing Foundr. By all accounts, Tori. The money we were making, a lot of people would have given up. And that's the truth, right? A lot of people would be like, oh, I only made $80 in the first month. I think, in 6 months' time, it was probably making $500. And I think about that time, it took a while, but to get to break even. But I think a lot of people would have just kind of gone, oh, well, that's not much. Why do I do this? And I think it's actually really dangerous. It's fun, don't get me wrong, to come up with new ideas and work on new different things all the time. But it's actually really dangerous in the sense that if you're always coming up with new ideas and always starting new things, you lose traction, right? It's easy to start. It's harder to actually build and actually to get that traction. But to be honest, Tori, at the time, it took me at least a year to kind of go, when I went full time on Foundr, that's when I realized. I remember sitting down with one of my mentors at the time, who's the CEO of the company I was working at, and I said, look, I've got an opportunity, I think, to build a lifestyle business or a big business. And I said, but I don't know what to do. And he said, I think you should build a big business. And that's when the vision really evolved, right? But it hasn't always been this big, grandiose vision of what we're trying to build at Foundr. It built up, and over time I realized the opportunity that we could build one of the largest online business schools in the world. That there's nothing out there like this, where we have a lot of people that are featured in Foundr on the front cover of our magazine. We're still getting more to teach and give back on our platform. So I guess that the thing that I'm trying to share with people is, I know it's easy to start other businesses. I know it's easy to kind of look at what you're currently doing. You might be doing it for a year and it's not getting the traction you're looking for. And it's easy to just say, okay, well, I'll do something else. But you've got to really look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, have I really given this my all? Hey, are there other people in the same industry, niche or market doing what I'm doing and making it work? Because if they are, that's telling you something. It's telling you shouldn't give up. But at the same time as well, if you don't love it and you're not enjoying it and it's not a passion and it feels like, don't get me wrong, it is a grind sometimes, but like if you're not having days where you're like, this is the best, you're having fun, you do this for free and you're not making any money, then maybe it's not the thing for you, right? Maybe it is another business. It's a really tricky one, you know?
Yeah, I think it requires you to do what you said. Do some internal reflection, be willing to look yourself in the mirror and reconnect with what is my why, the deeper purpose behind why I do what I do. Because if it's, rooted in just, oh, I want to get followers or I just want to become famous or this, that, and the other, it's like, but why? But why do I want that? Or what is the message I want to share? Why do I want to build this thing? Because there's likely, for me at least, there was a pain that I was experiencing that then I had resolved for myself. And I was like, I need to show people this is possible. I have to give this away. This has changed my life and I can't not talk about this. I can't not share it. And that took a long time, that took me 27 years to come across it. But when I did, that was why I think for me, it felt so urgent because it became so clear that this was worth pursuing. This was worth committing to it, giving everything as soon as I decided to start my business, I sold my house. I put it on the market. I was like, I'm going to give myself every opportunity to be successful. I don't want anything holding me back from being able to run in this direction fully. And so there was a deep level of trust that I had to have, to say, we're going to do this and we're going to do it fully, and that requires being willing to let go of a lot of, things that are comfortable and familiar and all of that I mentioned earlier. And what I've found just from the nature of the business that I'm in, and similar like you, I get to interview incredible people doing incredible work. And I'm just curious, like, as Foundr's grown and you've interviewed some really, really profound, some of the greatest leaders and entrepreneurs there are, like, have there been any things that stood out to you about those people that they all have in common in regards to like what makes them so successful?
Well, the first thing is, I think it's really good to acknowledge that they're just human beings at the end of the day, right? They're no different to you or I, and they still stand on the same rock solid hard ground, and they're human. And I think it's easy to put really successful people on a pedestal and be like, wow, but I think there's a few traits, right? There's this idea that these people are really good at identifying talent and having really smart other successful people around them to help them build their business. And I think oftentimes if you're just seeing the founder or the CEO as the spokesperson, but there's many people behind them doing all sorts of things to build that business. But how do you get there? You have to have this ability to identify incredible talent and really great people to have around you. I think that's absolutely key, and that is a critical one. I think when it comes to leadership and the ability to be able to talk to a vision and really articulate that vision and really be able to take people on that journey and rally and inspire. Once again, how do you find those people that are going to go with you on that journey? I think that is, and over time, the people change over time, but like that ability to articulate that vision. Look, it's just sheer extreme hard work. Like, I was speaking to Mark Laurie. He founded Jet.com. He sold it to Walmart for I think $3 billion. And it was really funny. So he owns one of the basketball teams now. I can't remember which one. One of the NBA teams. And he was just laughing because he told me he didn't sleep for like a week or something to get to do something, right? Like he was just like, it was crazy.
Wow.
But like that's just what he did. Like, and I think it comes back to that hard work piece. Like to get to that level, it takes extreme amounts of hard work, and probably to the detriment of your health, right? Like probably to the detriment of your health. That's just straight facts. Like I don't think that any of these super successful founders, especially I guess billionaires or multi-billionaires, I don't think they're working, like an 8 to 6. Like I think it's an extreme obsession. I think that it has to be, right? It has to be an extreme obsession to keep you going. I also find that one thing you'll find interesting is I've asked a few people this. Like I remember asking the co-founder of Airbnb, Joe Gebbia, one of the most largest companies in the world now. And I also asked the co-founder of Reddit this question as well, Steve Huffman, one of the most visited websites in the world. I said, is it ever enough? Is it ever enough? Because I think everybody watching or listening to this, when you do get somewhere, or you because you tell yourself, like we're always telling yourself, when I get here, it'll be awesome. And then you get there and you forget, and then you move to the next thing. You go, oh, when I get here. Or if you're going through some form of adversity, which you always do, and whether you have a business or whatever in life, you always tell yourself these stories.
Yeah.
So I asked them, is it ever enough? And even for these super successful people that are billionaires, multi-billionaires, some of the richest people in the world, it's not. And I think there's a level of comfort in that, knowing that you can look at these people that it looks like they have it all, but for them, they just want to evolve. They just want to keep growing. And if you can have that mindset of just always wanting to evolve, always want to keep growing, like I'm not saying you're going to be a billionaire, but it's going to put you on the right path.
I want to take a quick second to invite you for an opportunity to join me for an exclusive 75-minute virtual breathwork class. Now, if you've never heard of breathwork before, this is one of the most powerful modalities that you can use to relieve stress, become more creative, sleep better, and heal yourself from the inside out. Breathwork has absolutely changed my life. And if you want to hear that story, you can find an entire podcast episode called You Are the Drug, where I actually talked to my teacher, Samantha Skelly, who helped me go through a 7-month trauma-informed breathwork facilitator program. And I'm not the same after experiencing not just that program, but learning how to use my breath as a way to calm my nervous system, as a way to regulate when I'm going through stressful or overwhelming situations, and how to really just get out of my head and into my body. The best way I can describe it is the difference between knowing that you're okay, knowing that you're loved, and actually feeling your own love for the first time. And I struggled for so many years with body dysmorphia and feeling like I was crawling out of my skin, almost like wanting to trade my body in for another one, because I had such a level of discomfort feeling anything. Breathwork helped me to feel again and love again and connect with my intuition and my creativity and my sensuality in ways that I'd been so blocked from, I thought I would never be able to reconnect with. But breathwork helped me do that. And I want to offer you guys an opportunity to experience that for yourself. I've had such an enormous response from the clients that I work with around how transformational this has been for them. So I've decided to host a monthly breathwork class, and you can join me virtually from anywhere in the world. It's 75 minutes in a facilitated, safe space with other breathers. All you have to do to join is go to my Stan store. You can find it on my Instagram or TikTok link in bio. We'll also put the link in the show notes for you to make it super easy. It's only $25 to join. We have upcoming sessions in July on the 13th and August on the 11th, and we're trying this out. So If there is an enormous response, we're going to continue to add more classes, but this is our opportunity that we want to provide for you guys to join me in our upcoming class on July 13th. So go over to the link that's in the show notes for Breathwork and you can sign up there. All right, without further ado, we'll jump back into the episode. Definitely, I think there's so many good points there. One, I heard you say, like, basically you can't be successful on your own. Like, that was the first thing you said. It's like, I think a lot of us, when we start to dedicate ourselves to, this happens every year, right? At January 1st, and we're like, here are my goals, and this is what I'm going to do this year, and this is how I'm going to show up and what I want to accomplish. And we think we can do it on our own. And then you get into the gym or you get, 2 weeks into creating content every day or whatever your commitment is. And you're like, oh, actually my enthusiasm is waning and this is hard. And now resistance has shown up and all of the excuses and all of the reasons why, it would be easier not to do it. But when I think about, everybody that I know that's ultra successful, it's like, I didn't get here on my own. I had a army of people, a team of people behind me that helped me to get there and that I leaned on for support. And one of the things I always said in my business is like, I can't be all things to all people. And I don't want to be. I don't want to be like, I can't have an expertise in everything. I can't be expert in legal and in finance and in marketing. And sometimes at the beginning you have to be, you have to wear all of the hats. But at some point, I think for me, the best thing I started to do was to outsource and to delegate and to bring in almost like if I was drafting an all-star team, I think of it in that way. Is like, who would I draft as my, the best person I know who can do editing for podcasts? Who's the best person I know that can help me with my accounting? And my taxes and my, everything. And I'm going to bring in the best person that I know for that I can afford right now. And then that's how I'm going to build my team out, because I don't have the capacity or the time to learn all the things that they know. I can invest my time and energy in getting coaches and mentors. But one of the things all my coaches and mentors said was go delegate and hire people who are better than you, who can do it better than you can.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And I think, one thing, one of my other mentors taught me, Mitch Harper. Actually, I think he's a billionaire now. He started a company called Big Commerce. So it's a competitor to Shopify, and he actually teaches a course on our platform. Around how to kind of validate a software idea. And I remember that one of the most awesome things that he taught me, and I always carry it with me everywhere. He said to me once, Nathan, like, whatever problem that you're facing in your business, I guarantee you there's somebody out there that has solved it, and it's your job to go out and find that person and learn from them. It's not about what, it's not about how, it's about who. Who has done it? Who can you learn from? Because that's how you get shortcuts. And everybody is listening to this, you want shortcuts. You want to get there faster, right? And it's tough, like, to be honest, like in the beginning to kind of be vulnerable and put yourself out there, or even saying like, and putting that ego aside and saying, hey, I don't know the answer to this question. I'm going to put myself out there and find somebody that does. And whether that's through coaching, whether that's through mentorship, whether that's through networking, whether that's through any form of community that you're a part of. Yeah. But that is so key, right? Like what you were saying, like, is so key, especially if you want to get there faster. Like, if you want to outlearn your competitors, that is one of the fastest ways you can get there.
Yeah, agree. And the other thing I heard you say too was just like a ruthless desire to keep growing and evolving. And I think there's this delicate balance, right, between contentment and then this drive and this incessant need for more. Like, I think there's a dark side to that where we can feel like we're constantly chasing and on the hamster wheel and on to the next thing, that we're not ever taking time to enjoy and to rest and to play and like actually celebrate the success and the wins that we've had along the way and find fulfillment in that. I think Tony Robbins talks a lot about like the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment, because there are a lot of people out there who are who are achieving and have resumes that would blow anyone away and bank accounts that could make your eyes roll back in your head. But there are other parts of their lives that are suffering and failing, including their health. And so I think for me at this point in my life and where I hoped, like, I've got this ruthless desire to build something that's going to impact the world, but not at the expense of my own health or my relationships or the things that I value that enable me to do this, that enable me to show up, that enable me to like be able to show up at my best. And my health is obviously a huge one of those. And I think when that can also be dangerous. So I think when we get out of balance or we fall too far to one side of that pendulum, we all sort of have to find our way in that regard so that we don't burn out and that we don't lose, our energy and our passion, our enthusiasm for doing what we do. Because that's also it's a risk and it would be a tragedy. And it is for so many people that have so much they want to give and offer the world. And then they run out of fuel to do it. They don't take care of themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I experienced burnout for the first time early last year. Melbourne has been the longest, I think, lockdown in the world. Maybe not anymore, but it was. And I was working super hard and during the COVID era, and then we come out of it last year, and I didn't know what was going on, but I was burnt out, and took a lot of work to get back on track. And what I realized was you can have everything, but at the sacrifice of your health or your mental health, it's not worth it. And I agree with you. But it's not easy. I can tell you that this much. It is not easy to work out that balance of health, of relationships, friendships, building a life outside of work and career. It's a very, very, very difficult balance, and sometimes things lean more towards one end and then sometimes lean more towards the other end. And I think for me anyways, it's comforting to know that there'll always be, some areas that are topped up and some areas that are underserved, but then you can, move that attention, but it's just always kind of just, some areas not, some areas there. So it is very, very difficult.
Yeah, I think it requires a level of awareness and recognizing that there's a cost and a payoff to everything. Like everything we say, what we're saying yes to, we're saying no to a million other things, right? And when we say no to something, that frees up our time and energy to say yes to something that might be more aligned or more productive, or the thing that's going to help us actually make the progress we want to make. And I think that's the thing that if we can, as human beings, recognize is our lives are only as good as our choices. That's something I've really been thinking about, right? It's our lives are as good as our choices. And every day, we get to choose, where am I going to spend my time, energy, money, and where I spend those show me what they're a good barometer of our values, right? What am I saying yes to that is going to create the life in the future that I want, not just today, but also in the future? I've been thinking about this idea that to pursue pleasure, pursue the thing you want to right now, which might be a business endeavor, it might be a relationship, it might be something. But if it requires me to suffer tomorrow, is it really satisfying, right? Is it really fulfilling? Or is it more sabotage? Because it's the thing I'm building right now, is it also going to help me to experience pleasure and freedom and enjoyment, fulfillment later? So that's kind of been a measurement that I've been playing with recently when it comes to what am I saying yes to and what am I saying no to? And I'm curious, for you, as you experience burnout and coming back from that, did you have a process? What did that look like for you in terms of recovery and getting back to a place that you felt was good for you?
Yeah, so it actually took me a while to work out that I was burnt out. It took me a few weeks. I didn't realize. I was why am I feeling this way? And then I was I've just gone way too hard with work. And I love this stuff. It's really fun. And for me, my whole thing is because I was working in a job and doing work that I didn't enjoy. So my whole thing is I think
Sure.
life is too short to not do work you don't enjoy. So now I've found this thing with Foundr. It's so much fun. And, there are, like I said, there are hard times. It's not all fun, but for the most part for me, this is really fun. And
Yeah.
it's easy to forget that. And so, what did the process look like? I think first it was identifying that I was burnt out. I didn't realize that. It took me a few weeks, but things weren't right. And then it was really going on this new journey of self-discovery around why, and what do I need to do. So I did all sorts of things. I was doing acupuncture. I was getting regular myotherapy massages because I think I was really tense everywhere always. It was speaking to somebody about it on a regular basis. It was getting a really solid executive assistant who's now my chief of staff, someone that can really help me manage things so I wasn't taking on as much. It was looking at my calendar and making sure that I have breaks, like scheduled breaks. It was going for walks, but like really focusing on my health and fitness. And believe it or not, when I was experiencing burnout, I was training like hardcore as well. So I was trying to push on all areas. I was trying to push on health and get in the best shape of my life. I was trying to push on business and keep growing Foundr, and so I think it was in fact focusing less on health and fitness, not in the sense I wasn't training as hard and just trying to train the house down. It was spending more time with friends and family. I spent the same amount of time with family. I see my family a lot, but trying to dial up, spending more time with friends and less thinking about work. It was also, I guess, not working on weekends, and I still kind of manage that now. I do work on Sundays, but I always have a Saturday off. If I have to work, I have to work, but where I can, I try and give myself one day free. And I also started, I've always meditated over the years, but I started a daily practice of meditation. I've kind of come off it a little bit, but I still meditate at least a few times a week. So it was really all of those things that took me on this journey, and eventually things got better. And I delegated more. I delegated more. I realized that I just can't take on everything, and I delegated more.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we become aware of, but then it's something we continually work at, right? And striking that balance might change. You might get married, and that relationship needs more time and energy for a certain season, or then you have kids. It's okay, where am I turning these dials in my life, and building up the support structures around it that enable me to be able to show up powerfully in all of these areas right now, you guys in my life. So nothing is ever not getting my attention, but it's just getting my attention in the ways that you said. It's not that I didn't work out, but I wasn't pushing every day, maybe working out to the extreme. Maybe it's okay, I'm going to do some yoga or try some more conscious movement in different ways. And I think everything in our life requires energy. And it's how do I delegate that, and how do I just optimize our energy too? And sometimes it's just learning new practices that help us to get more out of our day. I was actually just interviewed a woman named Emily Fletcher. If you don't know who she is, she's incredible. She started something called Ziva meditation, and she talks about how stress is making us stupid and slow and sick. Ultimately, that stress is making us sick, stupid, and slow, and we can't just be going 24/7 without rest. That not just sleep, but actual rest. And for high achievers, high performers, people who have super high standards and are going for big dreams and goals, I think that's one thing that is hard for people to wrap their arms around, that rest is actually productive, because we've been so conditioned to think if we take time off, or if we rest, or if we play, or if we take time to connect, that we're going to get behind.
Yeah. Look, It's a really difficult balance, Tori, and it's like I said. I think you kind of in all the different
Yeah.
areas. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and it's just this balance. You have to balance them all. I was going to say another thing before I forget that I was doing. I don't do it anymore, but I found it to be a game changer, and I did it for about almost a year. Was float tanks.
Really? I've never tried that, but I've wanted to.
Sitting, or well, you're not sitting, but you're floating in the water, but just taking time out just to think and have no distractions, no phone, no nothing. And when I first started doing it, I realized like, wow, the first time I did it, I was like, wow, this is really frustrating because, and it went so long. You're in this float tank for an hour. And I was like, wow, this is really frustrating. I don't like this. And what I realized was the reason I didn't like it was because I was so wired up, always on my phone, always speaking to someone, always doing something, always going to be somewhere. And that's when I realized, like, wow, I actually need to keep doing this because it's going to force me just to let it all go, to think and to relax and to be present. And so I found that to be a game changer as well.
Yeah. I mean, any way that I think we can find that requires us to be with ourselves is sometimes confronting if we haven't been mindful of everything that's going on in our lives, because we're like, oh, wow, like my brain is really wired and it won't shut up and it's super active. And it's just that awareness can be pretty shocking when we have been externally like experiencing that in the world, and then all of a sudden you're internal and you're hearing yourself loud and clear in your own mind. But a helpful practice, and I definitely I wrote that down. I'm going to go check out if there's one in Vegas. I'm going to go try it and let you know how it is. But I wanted to ask you, because you've interviewed so many amazing people, what do you think makes a great interview? And are there any secrets that you have in how you prepare to interview somebody for Foundr?
Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of people now. I think, look, one that I think about a lot, and I only did it a couple of months ago, was with Scooter Braun. That was an incredible interview. Now, I do so many that are amazing. It's always hard to choose, but
Sure.
For him, there was just this extreme level of vulnerability that I've never really seen in a guest, like going that deep. So it was clear that he'd been doing a lot of deep work, and just the stories he was sharing. So what makes a great interview? I think a lot of it comes down to the guest and how much they give, right? I think, you can really try and push, and you have to be prepared to kind of push and kind of, really challenge, because sometimes, if somebody's not as present as you would like them to be, you kind of got to keep digging. So for me, great interviews, just incredible stories. How do you get like just incredible stories? And with the kind of people that we speak to, they have insane stories. Like, Scooter Braun was telling me how he recently become good friends with Jeff Bezos and what he's been learning from him. He told me about this, this journey of self-discovery he went down, and all these different things. And now how he doesn't like to refer to himself as a Scooter, it's Scott. Like all this crazy stuff. So I think it's got to be incredible stories, and as many as possible. It's got to be vulnerability. Now at varied levels, right? But it's got to be the real stuff.
Sure.
It can't be surface level. It's got to be, especially for me anyways, in the entrepreneurship space. It's like how do we go a couple of layers deeper of what it really takes, or what really happened, or how did you really do it? And
Right.
And I think as well, it's got to come back to relatability to your audience, right? Like how do you kind of get out of the guest really great stuff that's going to help them? But I think stories, vulnerability, and that ability to go a little bit deeper on actually what are the sacrifices, what did you have to give up, how did you actually do this thing, how do you make it super valuable to the listener or the viewer, and I think that ability to ask incredible questions, that those great questions. You can wing it if you've got an incredible guest, right? Like these guests and their experiences and their ability, they've coached so many people by the time I'm speaking to them, that they're great at just kind of teaching and talking and coaching and giving feedback and talking through and articulating things. But you've just got to get better and better and better at asking the right questions. I think you've got to really listen. The secret to a great conversationalist is what you don't say, and it's like letting that other person speak for 80% of the time, 90% of the time, and that's what I focus on. I'm not that's what's, I think, different about me when I'm doing interviews. I just want to learn, and that natural curiosity, I think that makes a great interviewer and an interviewer as well, having that natural, genuine curiosity and wanting to discover and go down certain pathways with people. In regards to preparation, to be honest, I have an incredible producer, Charlie, who's sitting right next to me, right? Like he does amazing research, and he knows our audience. He understands the guests. So I think that's another thing these days where I have a little bit of extra help. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other standout interviews that you've done that were just like your favorite? Scooter sounds amazing, but are there any others that you think on fondly, or that you learned, that you experienced something that was super unexpected?
Oh, it's tough, Tori. There's been so many. It's like this huge, wrapped up into a blur.
Sure.
I can draw on it. Someone was asking me this yesterday. Actually, you can draw on it when it happens, but or when you have this situation, when you're in a situation, I'm like, oh, I remember this person told me this. But I think Scooter's most recent one was a recent one that was really, really awesome. I've really, really enjoyed speaking with Jamie Kern-Lima. Her story is incredible. She was one of the first people to sell to L'Oreal for over $1 billion. And she has an incredible story.
Wow.
I found that just amazing. Oh, look, there's been so many, but no, those are a couple that come to mind immediately. But it's tough, to be honest.
Sure.
I wish I could say, yeah.
I get it. It's hard to narrow them down. I'm in the same boat. And I know, if people are interested and they want to know more and they want to listen to some of these interviews, or even actually get educated on how to start building their own business, their own podcast, starting their side hustle, tell people what Foundr is up to now and how people can go find out what resources are available to them.
Yeah. So look, for us, the magazine and the interviews is a very, very small part of Foundr now. As I said, we've always been an education company. Now we're just going deeper with online courses and programs, and really we're getting a lot of the people we interview to teach now on all sorts of different topics. We're launching a membership product next month, which is really exciting, called Foundr Plus, and it's where all of our focus and attention is going, and you get access to all of our courses, and we're releasing one new course a month. Eventually, in the next couple of years, it'll be one new course a week, and we want to build a really incredible learning platform when it comes to entrepreneurial education. So, if you'd like to check out our free content, go to foundr.com. If you'd like to check out any of our online programs, it's all on the website. Foundr Plus might be of interest to you. If you would like a free copy, free subscription to the magazine, we're now kind of pivoting to a freemium model. You can sign up. Just go to foundr.com/membership, and you can get a free subscription to the magazine.
Amazing. Can you give people an idea, what types of courses might they come across that you guys are offering? What are some of those subjects that they might see are available?
Yeah, so how to start an e-commerce business, how to write copy, how to do email marketing. We've got a course coming out end of this month, early next month, on how to create TikTok, how to do TikTok advertising.
Nice.
We've got a course coming on how to come up with your idea with one of the co-founders of Square. We've got a course on personal branding coming up. So many different topics. We've got a course on finance for founders. We've got some courses on leadership. Like it's ever evolving, but this is the best thing that we've ever built at Foundr. So there's going to be courses on leadership, hiring, culture, team building, how to start a business, how to grow a business, and also different topics, right? Not just how to start an e-commerce business. If you want to start a digital agency, how to start a digital agency, or how to even create online programs. So yeah, imagine everything you need to learn on your journey. We're kind of ever evolving, building out that platform.
Foundr's going to be the online MBA at this point, the modern day MBA that people actually can use and is actually practical. I love it.
That's the ambition. Honestly, yeah, you nailed it, Tori. That's the ambition. Like, you can spend 30, 40, 50 grand on an MBA, or you can enroll in Foundr Plus. It'll be like $1,500 a year.
Yeah.
Like super cost affordable.
I mean, and the value there is just off the charts, because this stuff is real time. This is what's happening in the market. These are the tactics and the strategies that are working from the people who are using them at the highest levels. This is not like, hey, let's analyze a PepsiCo commercial from the 1990s that you might get in school now. So this is practical, real world applicable information. And so if you guys have big dreams, like I know you do, because you listen to this show and there's something that you want to create, whether you're already on that path or you're thinking about it, Foundr is going to be your go-to place and resource, not just for courses, but also just continued daily inspiration and interviews. So I highly recommend you guys go check it out. We're going to put links to everything that we just mentioned into the show notes. We try to make it as easy as possible for you to get your hands on this material and to connect with Nathan. Where are you online? How can people follow you and stay connected with you outside of Foundr's website?
So I don't really grow my personal brand, believe it or not, Tori, but that's going to change.
Really?
Yeah. It's not a focus. Never has been. So, but it will be, I think, in the future. But you can just find me on just Nathan Chan on Instagram or Nathan H Chan on Twitter.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to put you out there and we'll get you some followers so that the personal brand thing can come along. But you're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you and excited for all that you're doing and that's coming. And is there anything final you want to share with the audience? Any last words that you have for us?
Thanks so much, Tori. Look, this has been a ton of fun. I really appreciate the opportunity and really appreciate your time. Look, I would just say for anybody listening, life is too short to not do work you don't enjoy. And, if you want to start that business, just go for it. What have you got to lose? And we'd love to come on the journey with you, helping you some way, shape or form, whether it's through Foundr Plus or not. We've got a ton of content that we can help you, and we're here to serve however we can.
Yeah. Hey, this audience, we're coachable. We're willing to learn and grow and do things better. So you're in the right place if you guys are looking to grow. Foundr's a great way to do it. Increase your income, your impact, all of the above. Nathan, thanks for being here. You guys, share it with a friend. Be a hero to somebody. If you know that they're struggling, they need to make some money, they need to figure out what they love to do, and they need meaningful work in their lives, share this with somebody. We appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week on the Coachable podcast.